Hi, welcome to 6.1, which is going to be a review of linear functions and a little review of all of our parent functions. So as you can see from the first page, these are some of our parent functions that we've already studied. So go ahead and try and fill in the ones that you know while you pause the video, and then come on back and I'll give you the answers for these. Okay, here are the answers. So fill in the ones you did not know, and let's move on to our review of linear relationships. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about, and yes, mine is in color because I printed it on my home printer. So slope-intercept form, up here first, this is our slope form. You may remember it as being called the yum-yums on the picnic table because the Y's are on top and those represent the food or the yum-yums, and then on the X on the bottom looks like a picnic table, so you can remember that the X's go on the bottom and the Y's go on top. And then slope is a synonym for rate of change, and in my class I wrote it change in Y divided by change in X, or you can also think of it as rise divided by run. Okay, so slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b, where m represents the slope and b represents the y-intercept. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1, where x1, y1 is a point on the graph, and m is the slope. So because x1, y1 can be a point on the graph, and there are an infinite number of points on this graph, there can be an infinite number of equations in point slope form for any given graph or relationship. Standard form is ax plus by equals c, and a, b, and c are just constants, meaning they're just numbers. Okay, so how do we find slope from different things? From a table, we do change in y divided by change in x. So, for example, on this, my change in y right here, so if I'm going from -2 to 0, I'm going up 2. And then from here, going from 8 to 4, I'm going down 4. So that's going to be -4. So I do -4 divided by 2, which is -2. So my answer to this one is -2. Now, that means that every time I have a change in my table, it's going to the change in y divided by the change in x is going to be -2. So for example, let's see, that one's going down 4, that one's going down 4. Over here, that might not be the case though. This one's going up 10 and this one's going up 4. So 10 divided by 4 is going to be 2.5. Here though, this is only going up by 5 and this is only going up by 2. So these look different, but 5 divided by 2 is still 2.5. So you're going to have the change in y divided by change in x every time. It's just, it might not look the same, but your ratio will be the same. Okay, from our graph, we find points. And the way we find points, the grid marks and the line all match together. So there's a horizontal line and a vertical line and our graph all going together. So there's one and there's one, and then we draw little steps and we find our rise divided by run. So our rise here is 1 and our run is 2. So we're going to do 1 divided by 2, so 1/2. And then we also need to look at whether our slope is positive or negative, and if I run my finger, my pencil, or whatever along the graph from left to right. If it's going up, it's positive. So our answer to this one is 1/2. For the equation, super easy. It's just the coefficient of x, or whatever's in front of x. So our slope for this one is 2/3. And then from 2 points, we use our slope formula from up here. So we do m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to label this. This is going to be x1, y1, and this is going to be x2, y2. So y2 is -9. I'm just substituting. So m equals, and then y2 minus y1 is 7 over x2 is -4 minus x1 is 3. So -9 minus 7 is -16 over -4 plus -3 is -7. So since a negative divided by a negative is a positive, my answer is just 16/7. And it's okay to leave it like that. You certainly could put it into a mixed number if you want to, but there's not really a good reason to unless you really like mixed numbers. Okay, moving on to the next part here. So there are we talked a little bit about the different forms. Let's look at what's happening when we are, when we have an actual graph and we're trying to find out all of our different forms. Okay, so the first thing is it's saying what are the 2 points, use slope formula to find the slope. If I had this situation, that's not what I would do. I would make the steps, and then so I would draw from one point to the next, and I would say my rise is 2 and my run is 5, and then my rise divided by my run, and then it's positive because if I go from left to right, it's going up. So that would be my slope. You could use the slope formula and do -3, -1, and then this is 2, 1. So I would say if you feel like you need some practice on the slope formula, go ahead and give that a try. See if you get 2/5. Otherwise, for efficiency's sake, if the graph is already drawn, we might as well just do rise divided by run with the steps. Okay, so either way, we know that our slope is 2/5. Now we're going to make a formula in point slope form, or make an equation in point slope form. So all we need is a point and a slope. I like 2, 1 because there's no negatives, they're nice pretty numbers, and our m is 2/5. So our formula for point slope is y minus y1 equals m x minus x1, where x1, y1 is our point and m is our slope. So I just do y minus 1 equals, instead of m, I put in 2/5, x minus, and then x1 is 2. And that's it. So that's our answer for this one. I'll put it over here in the fun little star. Okay, for slope intercept, now I want this in y equals mx plus b form. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this. So y minus 1, 2/5 times x is 2/5 x. And then 2/5 times 2 over 1 is just 4/5. So I have minus 4/5. And then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So y equals 2/5 x. And then -4/5 plus 1 is positive 1/5. So my answer is y equals 2/5 x plus 1/5. Okay, last one. We're going to make this into standard form. Standard form, if you don't remember, is the ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are all just plain numbers. So if I have y equals 2/5 x plus 1/5, the first thing I want is my x to go to the left side of the equation. So I'm going to do that by doing minus 2/5 x from both sides. So now I have negative 2/5 x plus y equals 1/5. Now, there's only one standard form of each equation, and it's got whole numbers as coefficients, and our a is going to be positive. So in order to get a to be positive, I'm going to multiply it by a negative number. And in order to get there not to be any fractions on this, I want this to be a whole number, I'm going to multiply it by 5. So if I multiply this by negative 5, this is going to be turned into a whole number, and it's also going to become positive. So when I do that, my 5s end up, 5 divided by 5 is a 1, and then we multiply that by the 2. So it ends up being 2x minus negative 5 times y, it's negative 5y, equals negative 5 times 1/5 is negative 5. So our answer is 2x minus 5y equals negative 5. And that's our answer for that one. Okay, I'm going to stop the video here, and I will put the next 2 pages on the next video.